Welcome back to the Thrifty Food Plan channel, friends. I am so glad you are here. If you watch this channel, you know that for the last month or so, the co-parent and I have been toggling back and forth, sharing time in London to support our daughter. Just some issues going on there. And so this video is just going to be some of my reflections after a couple trips over the pond, as they say. If you like what you see here, please do hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. All these things can really help the channel and build our community. Thanks so much for being here. Now let's get to it. Hello, Thrifty Food Plan channel friends. It's Jay. It's my last morning in London, and we are going to go off into the sunset. I'm going to head back to the States and just wanted to do a little reflection video about my time in London. London is an amazing city. I would definitely recommend it to folks if you ever have the opportunity or means to visit. It's totally worth it. So I'm going to do some general things about London, and then I'll do a focus in on kind of shopping, grocery shopping, and eating, sort of the focus of this channel. So the first thing to know about London is that it is very much a walking city. So on an average day here, I walked more than 3 miles. My highest day was 7.8 miles. So there is a lot of walking that happens in London. That said, for anyone who has mobility issues, if you use a wheelchair, I would say that all of the sidewalks and all of the crosswalks do have sort of the soft landing, and I have definitely seen lots of folks who use wheelchairs here navigating the city fine. Just know when you come that you're likely going to walk a lot. Another piece about London is that it does have public transportation that actually makes sense. The tube is the train here. The tube goes everywhere. The bus system also relatively easy to navigate. And so we did use the tube and buses a lot when we weren't walking or when getting somewhere was, more than a mile walk. Typically, not always, we would take the public transportation. Third thing related to getting around the city is that although I believe everyone should take one of those cute little black taxi cabs while they're in London, because it is iconic for the city of London, those things are really, really expensive. And so if you are take one and use your fun money, but don't rely on the black taxi cabs for your day-to-day transport because they're really expensive. Ubers, far less expensive. So just to give you an example, the first time that I came to London back in February, I took a black taxi cab to where I was staying in central London. It was more than £100. So multiply that by 1 point whatever dollars the conversion rate is, and that was a really I didn't do it again. So use the public transportation system, and when you can't, I really recommend using Uber. Take a black cab for fun. Quirky things, I have really long hair, and London is a really windy city most days. So I would just say you don't need a blow dryer. You don't. Just go stand outside for 5 minutes. You don't need a blow dryer. Most of the rooms that I rented here did have one for any of the ladies who might want or need one. But it is so windy here. And you may notice in all my videos, I've got one of these around my wrist. And it's been really helpful in London so I could tie my hair back. It is so windy here. Related to that, if you come in the spring or the winter, you do need a big coat with a hood because it can go from super sunny like it is right now to raining or even snowing within a matter of hours. So the weather is very variable. So do bring a big puffy coat with a hood. This coat, not sufficient. I had to borrow a winter coat from the College Phenom. Let's see. So let's talk a little bit about groceries and eating. So there are lots of different grocery chains here, and if you've watched any of the videos, you know that I mostly shopped at Waitrose, which one of our viewers let me know is the most expensive grocery store in London. And then I also did a shop at Aldi. And those were like full-size grocery stores. But they're also, depending on where you're staying in the city, there also are what are called like local markets. So like Tesco is another grocery chain here. So like a Tesco local. And I would say that it's like a mini supermarket. And that might be sufficient. They typically are a little more expensive than the full-size grocery stores, but it might be worth it. Like if there's one on your block or 1-2 blocks away and you don't want to walk a mile or get on a train or whatever, right? Like shopping at one of the local or express grocery stores might be workable for you. I would say something else I noticed is that there are many more vegan and plant-based options in grocery stores here. A lot of that is like processed food, processed vegan food, but there is so much of it. Like in both of the groceries that I went to, there was like half of a refrigerator aisle that was plant-based food. So if you eat that stuff, you're going to have lots of options when you come here. Another thing about groceries here is that, and it's also true in restaurants, which we'll talk about in a minute, the portions of everything are smaller here. So like a can of beans is a little bit, some of it's about like the kilogram framework over here, but I really, talking to some of the Phenom's friends who are from England, a lot of the portion control stuff is related to public health interests. Sorry, the lighting just got really funky. Public health interests that the government here is trying to push out. So bags of chips, bags of candy, like all the snack foods are smaller, right? And then some of the more staple items also are smaller, which is probably more about the kilogram framework here. I would definitely encourage everyone, if you can, to rent a room or an apartment or a condo, whatever you can afford, but find someplace that has a kitchen or a kitchenette. I do this wherever I travel. I've done videos before where I was on vacation. I'll link one of them above. I always try to rent someplace that's got a kitchen or a kitchenette so that I can cook food myself. I would say it is critical in London because although there are restaurants on nearly every street has at least one restaurant on it, if not more. So there's a diversity of restaurant options, but it is really hard to find any meal for less than £10, which is $11 roughly. And so just, a coffee and a pastry is £9 or £10. I mean, so if you can, it's definitely worthwhile to find a kitchen or a kitchenette. When you eat out at restaurants, something that is a little different here is the tipping culture. So in the US, right, we are kind of used to tipping 20-25%. Generally, if you get decent service. And in the UK, it doesn't really work that way. At some restaurants, I noticed they would add a 10% gratuity, but they add it before they give you the check. Other restaurants don't do that. And in the cases where they didn't do that, I usually left a couple of pounds on the table just as a thank you. But here, like a 10% tip is a good tip. And that also applies to things like Uber. So tipping culture is just really different, and it's important for us US folks to know that, because we might reflexively just tip way bigger, you know. The other thing that I was totally not prepared for during my time here is that basically everything in the UK, whether it is the public transportation, a restaurant, a grocery store, all of it uses contactless payment. And so I don't have like one of the chips in my credit card where you just tap it down and it pays. I have one where you have to stick it into the machine and then sign for it. And like folks here could not figure out how to make that work. So if you are going to be using it, some places don't even take cash anymore. And so like halfway through, what I ended up doing is I ended up getting some cash out, giving the college phenom some cash, and then using her contactless card, because trying to navigate putting my card in and then it was very confusing to people here. So just know, if you come, if your bank offers sort of the contactless credit card, that is what you are going, or debit card, that is what you're going to need here. The other option, one of the kids told me, one of the Phenom's friends told me, is that I could do Apple Wallet, because I have an iPhone, but I don't know what Apple Wallet is, but maybe you do. So these are some of the things that I observed and learned sort of being in London a couple of times over the last couple of months to support the College Phenom as we're going through some things here. It is a beautiful city. I loved being here. It's been stressful. The issue isn't totally resolved, but I feel like the College Phenom is in a better place than she was when all of it started. And, you know, the co-parent and I will continue to toggle back and forth if we need to come back and provide on-the-ground support for her. But I just wanted to thank all of you for your love and care for me and the College Phenom and my family more broadly during this time. And I have faith that we're in a better place now, and I believe that she is going to be okay. And that's all a mom can want, right? Anyway, that is my debrief on London living, my little experiment in London living. And do come back on Thursday when there will be a grocery haul and meal plan back in the US. Thanks so much for visiting.